with Blair High School. And Blair High School, not just Blair High School, but the high schools are coming together and they're forming their own, like a tennis team. They're forming a pickleball team. So one of the courts, like Blair has like 12, I think it is, courts. One of those courts, one or two courts, will be lined for pickleball for that reason. But I mean, like I said, I mean, I'm just asking for two courts.
Right. Well, I mean, this is what we're proposing, or what the commissioners and we've come up with, is not a permanent thing either. We're trying to solve a problem where, people are asking for lights so that they can play later into the evening. And that is the only court that we've got lights on right now, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, from what my understanding, but the pickleball players, they're usually there first thing in the morning. They go and they stay there all day.
Those are the seniors, the retired people in town. Right?
Now, the evening, and most likely, since it's an outside activity, they're going to be playing during the summer. It usually doesn't get dark till about 9 o'clock at night during the summer. And then the lights come on. So, I mean, they have.
And what's the difference with tennis? Then you have the same situation, right?
No, we're not asking for lights. I mean,
No, but you have people playing tennis at night under the lights.
if the lights are there, of course, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the pickleball players are asking, I guess, for the same thing.
Yes. But they got all these.
I know they do, but I've read through every single one of these emails, and that all they're asking for is a place to play under the lights. Yeah.
Well,
Except for one. Doesn't want it.
Well, yeah, there were two in there, I guess.
There was a couple
Three
of them
maybe.
that
yeah.
were
But the ones that are asking for it are
Yeah.
just saying, yeah, they'd like to have equal access to be able to play under the lights. And we're not saying this is going to be a permanent thing either, because the commissioners, as Niles agreed, they do have a line item where over time, how most lines would be gone and lights would go in over at Stevens.
I know, I mean, yeah.
But they also,
That's the plan.
we also have a line item in the budget to build more pickleball courts at Elgin Park,
That's correct. Mhm.
right?
And yes, that's correct. And to redo the courts at Stevens, since there's a crack and things like that they want to address as well. But yes, there's a budget line item for that as well.
So they're getting more pickleball courts.
Well, the ones that, we don't know what the time frame is for either of those.
Yeah, that is.
They're just
that has
line
been
items.
added line item, so it's being funded. We don't know, do we know what the budgeted cost on that is, Niles?
Yeah. So for the lights, it's 60,000, and that starts the accumulation starts next fiscal year, so 2025. The refurbishing of the current courts at Stevens is $90,000, and that's already started accumulating. And then, so it follows through next year's budget. And then Elgin Park pickleball starts in 2026, and that's when the accumulation starts, and that out year is 2028.
So that
2028, 2026. is-
4 years from
Until
now,
20
it should be fully funded, unless they get a grant or something like that.
But the lines, once you put the lines in there, you're not gonna go there and erase them. They're gonna be there until those courts get refurbished.
Resurfaced.
Right.
So you're still gonna have pickle lights. You're still gonna have people there playing pickleball, even though you may have provided them another area. If it's there, the lights are there, they're gonna show up.
Yeah.
Right, but I mean, I know Preston, we've got, right, we have a schedule as to when we resurface courts, correct?
Yeah, and then.
And if we time it,
I don't know in front of me, but there is a cycle, years out, when we do resurface.
Yeah.
Now, do you know the dates on those, or?
I'm trying to look right now.
Once we line
It
that,
looks like it's like 20, the Helmos one is around, right now around 2030, but we can look at that too. What the timing is on that.
moving up the timetable if the other stuff gets done.
Mm-hmm.
Because when is the out year on the lights?
The lights, it would also be 2030. Those are 2028, sorry.
No. The lights, 2020.
Yeah, the lights,
lights for Stevens.
2028
Stevens?
would be the lights. 2028 would be the lights.
The lights for Steven.
Yeah.
We okay then.
The commissioners did it.
Commissioners
Yeah.
look at it
We
all.
didn't.
Yeah, we actually recommended against it, but.
We said no, and they,
Yeah.
wow, thank
Said
you.
that Helmut is getting resurfaced in 2030?
That's, yeah, how much one?
That's currently, yeah.
That's not gonna last that long.
Yeah,
But I mean, you've lived here for years. I mean, the town does, we take care of the courts. We don't let them get to
Well, again.
extremely bad condition,
I-
yeah.
I work for Montgomery Public Schools, and I deal with all the schools in Montgomery County, so,
Right.
I mean, I know about tennis courts, and those courts,
won't last.
they're not gonna last that.
Oh, no, I'm saying that, but I'm saying the town will not let them get to a condition. If
If it
2026 it comes around that they need redone,
Starts to deteriorate, we normally accelerate the process.
Yeah.
these guys are on
That's
top
the-
of it, yeah.
Yeah, this is just for budgeting purposes, to put everything in the priorities where we are. But if circumstances change, then we adjust. That's
Yes,
part
it's-
of the
it's
budget
flexible.
process.
It's very.
Once we line the Halmos courts, how many pickleball courts will we have in the town of Poolesville? If we line the Halmos courts?
2, 3, 4.
Town of Poolesville,
Because it would be,
you got 12
Are you
at John Poole Middle School,
That's why I'm asking the question.
and then I don't know how many over at
We
Stevens.
have
never-
12
do you- are
pickleball
you
courts at John Poole
considering-
Middle School.
We don't count John
Middle
Poole.
school, the middle school doesn't
Not
have
our part.
12, it's got 8.
We don't, but I'm just saying in the town of Poolesville.
No, I'm just saying, we can't.
Middle school's got 8.
Because we can't
not
control
12.
that.
Is
There's
it
four,
eight?
there's 4 courts and there's 2 on each.
There's 3.
How can you put 3 courts on,
There's 3, the way we design it is, it's the net itself, it's called, you can use that, it's the way it's lined, you can use the existing net as a pickleball court, or you.
then you
can
can't use the other 2 at the same time, though, right?
Well,
You can't use all 3 at the same time, is I guess what I'm getting
No.
at.
You
Okay,
can have 8 in use it.
exactly, that's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you have,
But there are no nets,
No.
except for the,
and then we have 8 at Stevens or 4 at Stevens?
8.
8.
no, there's not.
No, 6.
I'm pulling it up right now, trying to find it.
Well, it's used.
It was going to be 8.
It's
No,
two
we
per
have
court, right?
4 at
So
Stevens.
No,
Fort
they've got it.
Yeah, so 4 at Stevens,
4 at Stevens plus the dual-lined tennis courts. so
There it is.
Potentially 6.
right. Right.
So this would be 7 pickleball courts that are under the town's purview where there are nets, portable nets to be used.
This will be.
Whereas the
we
middle
have-
school,
So
the
there'd
middle
be
school
6
doesn't
at,
have
there's
nets.
6 at Halmos, I'm sorry,
6 at Stevens,
Stevens, and then it'll be 4 more, I'm sorry, 2, is it 2 more
at Helmos,
at Halmos?
right. And those,
So it'd be
those would be the same kind of, as that, so what, I mean, here's the, whatever the
We
thing.
can have 16 pickleball courts going in the town of Poolesville at any given time.
How many?
16.
If you're
8
including, oh, if you're
at the
including
middle school?
Oh, yeah, but if the middle school, you got to bring, there's no nets. So somebody would have to go out, purchase their own net, and if they were really that into it.
Isn't Stevens Park the same way? Don't you have to bring your own net for that?
No, the town provided the nets.
Really?
That's
Yeah.
where the 2 nets are that are over at Helmos that
And then how many more,
Commissioners bought last
and
year.
how many more have we budgeted for Elgin?
so we are still determining how many would be at Elgin. We have to look at the space and such, but it would probably
A minimum
two
of 4,
were-
right?
Yeah, 2 or 4, yeah, somewhere in there. Preston, what do you think with Elgin, with how many pickleball would be there?
The minimum would be 2, max would be 4,
Yeah.
with the area we have designated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Put them on the basketball court.
Now, I'm all for the pickleball, but I'm also, I do think a dedicated space for tennis. I feel like they're getting pushed out of all the different parks. So if the only solution for the short term is to have lights at Halmos, then as long as it's a short term solution, then I think that's the only thing we can do right now. But I wouldn't be against having those go back to just sole tennis courts once the lights get installed at
I think
Stevens.
that's what the commissioner's plan was, and they added the line item after we
Let's
even
make
pushed it
sure
up
that
to-
that's the plan, because,
I don't know why.
it's almost like once it gets done, it gets done. You know what I mean? Like, I just,
So are you feeling that we should not put lines at Helmos for pickleball? Because I think that's also on the table of a conversation.
Yeah.
So the portable net is at Halmos for pickleball.
Right.
The question last.
We've already purchased the net for.
Right.
Yeah,
The
for how
question last time was being asked is if we would take one of the courts and draw the pickleball lines or whatever, paint them on there.
Right.
That's the question at hand.
Yeah.
So I am of the mindset, I don't know if we're at the voting stage or whatever, to let tennis have tennis, those two courts, not paint the lines, keep the portable net there.
Yeah.
And as an interim until lights are at Stevens and Elgin and whatever.
So having the portable nets there, though, doesn't,
Well, then why
Do
did we
anything.
get them?
because we were going to paint
Because
the,
it
we had
was-
this, we had this same discussion a year
Yeah,
ago.
we did have,
We had this.
we-
the idea
Yeah,
was.
because it took 8 to 9 months for us to actually get
But I don't
these
recall
nets
saying we
in.
were going to paint them. At the time, people were satisfied with the net being there.
This all
Because
started,
the seniors came in and they were the ones that said they volunteered to paint those.
this all
was
started
back
because
at
some guy didn't
Stevens.
want a different colored painting lines or something.
Exactly, because this
When
was,
we're
yeah, this
talking
was
about
all
number of
done-
courts, this is
this was
getting
all-
out of hand,
But
guys.
that was at Stevens, they were going to repaint those lines.
No,
weren't
they,
gonna
no, they
paint
they had
them.
volunteered to do them because Norm was here and he volunteered. He said they would do
I
it.
don't
at-
recall that.
At
They
Helmut
also,
as
they
well.
also volunteered to do the lines on the basketball.
Yeah, they do that. They tape those lines on.
And that goes, now, if the town is gonna allow them to do that, then we're talking about hazard, because it depends on what kind of paint you're gonna use. It could be slippery paint, you know, because one of the things that we have in Montgomery County Public Schools, it has to be done according to the tennis or tennis federation, because these lines have to be, you can't slide, because you got some tennis player going over there, and you know, all of a sudden you're gonna hit this line, it's gonna slide.
Yeah, well, I mean, the ones over at Stevens have been painted for, Preston, we think, 2 years?
Preston,
The lines over at Stevens on the dual painted tennis court.
Okay,
2 years, 3 years, how long they've been there, you think?
at least 3.
Okay.
yeah. But those
So, yeah,
are,
I mean, the paint
It's
they
anti-skid
used, they
paint and all
worked
that stuff.
with the town on picking out the paint. And
yeah. Yeah.
I know.
I mean, I guess I'm just repeating, we did,
Well,
whatever it was, yes, we did not
Yeah,
recommend.
so I see
light
this as two
as a line
problems.
item.
I see this
First
as,
complaint, like Tim said, was
was only
just the
the
color,
painted
is
lines,
all we
right.
were going to discuss is what color we were going to paint them, because it had already been
Decided
discussed
back
and
in June.
decided.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, last year.
You read number one by Wade, put it out.
yeah. Yeah, but I see it as two problems. I see it as the first and foremost, the lights problem, right? So can pickleball have a space with lights? Tennis has a space with lights. Can pickleball have a space with lights, right? So the short-term solution is the painting of the lines at Halmos, with the idea that those lines were going to be removed once we get lights up at Stevens,
How can you remove them?
or the resurface.
When you resurface. When you
Well, yeah,
resurface.
resurfacing is more than removing, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
Well,
costly,
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, when it's during the
but
budget.
that's not till 2030.
But like he said.
Well, we don't know,
Court's
we
not going to
don't,
last that long.
yeah.
Well, okay.
It may get resurfaced earlier. I'm just saying, like, I am all, like, pickleball is great. I have no issues with the pickleball. I just feel like it's become, like, they have, now have taken over every park. You know what I mean? And if tennis wants its dedicated space, I don't
let's-
see that's an
I
issue.
think we're all pretty much in agreement
Yeah.
that part-time.
Well, except for
a partial,
Gail.
well, except for a partial of, let Halmos just be partial until all this resurfacing and the lights come in and all that. I guess what I'm getting at is, we could just, make a recommendation to the commissioners that that's what their plan is.
you say, so you.
Or just get a clarification from the commissioners, right? Like, if we do this short-term solution at Halmos, they plan on reverting it back to solely just tennis,
Once the lights go in at Stevens, right?
once the lights go in at Stevens. Correct.
Now,
I know that's not the ideal solution for you and tennis in general, but pickleball does not have a space with lights. At this point, tennis does have a space with lights. So we're trying to accommodate both
I
groups,
understand.
you know what I mean?
But we're talking about giving the pickleball players, 2-3 hours? Because if you go and play tennis, under the lights, you're gonna play maybe 2-3 hours at the most.
I mean, people can go out and play right now if they wanted to. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
And whether
Because
tonight-
you have daylight, it all get dark at 9. And after 9, they're not, most people, I'm not saying, I'm sure there's some crazy people that go out there and will play maybe till 11. So we're talking about giving them 2 additional hours to play pickleball, when they have all this other time to play pickleball. At all these other courts.
So now you're saying the issue is just the sound and playing next to pickleball players?
It's always been the sound, and it's always been playing next to pickleball players. That's always been the case.
Well, no, you initially also said it was the lines.
And the lines. Well,
Okay, yeah. So-
the lines is not an
He
issue.
said all three of those initially.
Okay,
The
that's what I
lines-
thought, yeah.
The lines is not an issue if you use the proper line, the proper thing. But if you go there with enamel paint or something like that, yeah, it becomes an issue.
Or tape.
Or tape.
Okay, so what do we want to do? Do we just want to get a
What color lines?
clarification from the commissioners?
Something that doesn't stand out.
Green.
Yeah.
I heard the difference 5 years ago.
Niles,
I
can
mean,
we,
Gail,
hey, Niles,
I
can
would-
we just
I-
make it a point that we check with the commissioners and
already
get a
said we were
clarification on
gonna-
what their plans are?
We had already said we were.
Of course.
Did, I looked back, because
I mean, because this was,
we did.
you know, we had made the recommendation a year ago. They made their
Yeah.
decision, they then
I'm actually kind of with you.
added it.
Certainly.
But like, but it would be a part-time thing, or short-term, whatever, even if it's short-term's a couple years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be short term, you're talking about 5, 7, 10 years.
And the town's
Look, so here's
of time.
here's kind of, we have to budget, we have to put these as line items in the budget.
Well, I understand.
But there's county funds and mostly really state funds that are available to us for parks and recreation. So what typically happens, and I can't guarantee this is gonna happen, but what typically happens in the past is we have these plans, we hit, put them, they have to be included as line item budgets, and then we submit, you know, the plans to the state for those grants, for that grant money. And so the idea is, hopefully, that's funded sooner rather than later, right? Doesn't always happen, but the town's pretty good about working the
No,
grant system.
I'm familiar with
Yeah.
the process, but then also, when it comes down to the town, the state allows you, whatever, $1 million or $500,000, whatever it is. The town sets a priority as to what gets done, how the money gets spent.
Well, the way it works is, it's specific, particularly for Parks and Rec, it's specific to the project. It's specific to the
Yep.
project. It's not, hey, we want $1 million for the town. It's, we want $60,000 for lights for this park because we have a burgeoning pickleball, you know,
And
health and
sometimes-
recreation.
You have to also show the plan and that the town's
Yeah.
been putting money
We
away
get
as
the plan, we
well.
get the quote, we, you know, and that's why it's got to be included in the budget as a line item, because the state's got to say, hey, this is something that they're planning on doing, not just some willy-nilly thing they want money for lights, right? So we've got to have done the background work in order to do that, which is why we've gone through that process. So at this point, it's just a matter of waiting for that, you know, whether or not that gets funded sooner rather than later.
All right.
Okay, so Niles, we got a line, or a task then?
Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
you'll
I'll
get
talk to the
clarification from commissioners on that, how most would go back
Yeah.
to tennis after the lights are installed at
Yeah.
Stevens. Okay,
And we can do that as part of the budget discussions they will have in March too. So we can talk all of this through in that way, okay?
sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I mean, we're all in favor of tennis having their own dedicated space once this short-term issue with the lights is squared away.
Makes sense to me, yeah.
Okay. I know it's not the solution you wanted to hear, but we'll get the clarification from the town and see what we can do.
No, it's not. I mean, again, like, it's short term, you're talking 5, 7 years. I probably will be playing pickleball.
You'll be back here arguing.
I think you'll be arguing to keep the lights, or keep the
lines
lines. Yeah. Hopefully it's not that long.
All right.
Carlos, gathers tennis people for future conversations if you see things on our agenda, because the pickleball players have a very active group who come in and speak to us
Yes,
frequently.
actually, I think they sent a whole bunch, I did reach out to all my contacts, and they did send some emails. Actually, I heard about this through my sister
Yeah.
in town. She told me about it, and I said,
Yep.
no, we gotta do something about this. We only had 2 or 3 days to do this, but also.
So I'm
keep
sorry,
in mind,
do you live in town or just your sister?
My sister.
He lives in Dickerson, but he uses,
Oh.
Is the neighbors, you need to make sure that the neighbors who live close to
I know, yeah, that's all part of
Yeah.
all part of
Yeah.
our town process, yeah,
Yeah.
we've got to,
We, that's gonna be a problem.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it's not, if they're playing.
So if I
pickleball
can get,
nine o'clock at night.
if I get their signature saying that they don't want pickleball courts, will that help?
Well, the town has already reached out to, have we reached out to those folks behind Halmos there?
So we haven't yet directly, but we've sent general information about it, but because we don't want to, put it as something that they need to do, and then months later, it actually happens, we try to keep it continuous with what we're
Yeah.
doing. So we can reach out, though, again, for them.
And we're not trying to
specifically.
create a situation where it's
Yeah,
us versus them, right? Pickleball versus tennis. We don't want that, or I
Yeah.
think everybody's looking for a solution that helps as many people as possible, right?
Including the tennis players.
Including tennis players, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty on this, I mean, obviously, I think just from our conversation tonight, most people would think it makes sense to have tennis, but would still have a dedicated area where it's just tennis, you know what I mean? Because I do think you bring up good points about the sound and the etiquette and things like that. It's
Oh, yeah.
very different, it's a very different sport than pickleball.
I've,
And its popularity is waning, but that doesn't mean it's always gonna be,
eventually, it'll-
yeah,
Fade a little
it's a, right. I mean,
But it-
pickleball is just a very fast-growing sport, and you got a lot of people interested right now, but, I mean, we've got parks where, for years, basketball courts sat empty, now they're getting used, it's just kind of like up and down,
Ebb and flow.
ebb and
even
flow
the
of-
baseball we saw, yeah. for
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Absolutely, so,
but it is
Girls
a fact
softball.
that whenever you have, I would say serious tennis players and pickleball players, there's gonna be conflicts.
yeah, I don't doubt.
Recreational player, he doesn't have any problem because he's just out there, hit the ball.
Yeah.
But the serious tennis player, yeah, there will be conflicts.
I don't doubt that.
We appreciate your input.
Yeah.
Tell George that he used to be a tennis player, now he's gone to the other side. He's been trying to get me to go play pickleball, says, no,
The
George,
dark side.
as long as I can play tennis, I'm gonna stay with tennis. But in 5 years, I might be talking to you guys about putting pickle on something.
Get rid of those tennis courts.
That it?
All right.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you, Carlos. Thank you so much.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Appreciate it.
All right, next thing on the agenda,
35 minutes for that, huh?
approval of minutes.
Thank you.
We've got, anybody got a motion to approve and second and all that good stuff? Have you guys seen them,
Yeah, approve them.
looked over them? You're making a motion, Tim?
Make a motion, approve minutes.
Anybody second it? Doug? All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain because I wasn't here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see, so Jeff, Doug, Tim, Pat, Gail,
You weren't here.
Preston, Niles. So
You were
you've
not
got,
Yeah, we got
you've got majority of the people that were here, so.
Yeah.
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 So Terry and I both abstain. Right?
Approved.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, old business. We just took care of pickleball at Halmos. Discussion of trails working group. Is that Niles, you want to
Yep,
jump in on
I
that
can
one?
take that. So at the last Parks Board meeting, it seemed like most of the Parks Board members were interested in serving on the working group. However, under the Open Meetings Act, if a quorum of members, which for our case is 4, are members of the advisory board, it would be required that it be an open body, since a quorum cannot, quorum of the committee, can, yep, go ahead.
No, that makes sense. So basically,
Yeah.
only two of us.
Meeting, yeah.
Only 2 of us can serve.
No, 3.
Only 3.
Oh, I'm three.
Well, no, 4
Yeah.
can serve, but we have to have an open meetings.
But if we keep it at 3, it's not an open
It
meeting.
gets more complicated with 4, okay.
Yeah.
Right. And it was the town commissioner's preference that this working group be not a public body. So that's the other part of this. So therefore, it's staff's recommendation that the working group consist of no more than 3 members of the Parks Board, along with a member of the Planning Commission and members of the public. It is up to the Parks Board to determine how it would select the working group members, if that all makes sense.
Yeah.
So what I figured tonight's discussion would be is figuring out your membership, right? And then I'll talk to the planning commission about specifically who wants to do that from them. And then we can, figure out, we can either figure it out tonight or however, how we want to solicit, public members. And how many.
So we're gonna, okay, we're gonna have public.
Which three of us want to serve,
Group then.
essentially?
I'll volunteer if, if no one else wants to, but.
So last time, we had Gail, Pat, Tim, Doug, and somebody volunteered me.
I don't
I
know.
Yes.
figured you would want to,
Yeah, I figured I would.
Volunteered you.
I mean, I don't have to be honest, but it's up to you.
I mean, I'm happy to serve.
I
It's,
am too.
I'm up for it. If
Okay,
guys
so you
want,
got
we
it.
can vote
Gail?
on it, or we can draw straws or whatever, it doesn't matter.
Gail, Tim, and Pat. There's our three. You guys good with that?
There you go. If there's any changes, I'll be happy to.
Terry, you
back
okay?
anybody up
I'm
as an
You
alternate?
good?
Yeah, you put me on.
Terry's like, yeah,
I got all the history, or you got the history.
I got enough I gotta do, yeah.
Trails and all that, so if you need information, I got.
Yeah,
Bunch of
yeah.
old-
And actually, I think it probably looks better this way, especially because you had to recuse yourself. It probably
That's true too, yeah, makes sense.
That's right. Talk to Jim about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got your board, now we'll get one
One planning commission
planning and
member.
then.
I didn't mean to say that. It doesn't look
Yep.
better, but it looks. It
Looks
just,
better if I not.
Yeah.
Are you guys gonna appoint someone from the public, or you're gonna have an open, face
So-
free-for-all?
So this is the question that I have for you guys. So based on the way that we were sort of thinking about this structure, this advisory board would report to you guys. So therefore, this working group, excuse me. So therefore, the idea is that the best approach would be for you guys to decide, one, how many people from the public you wanted, because that was the discussion previously. And then we can discuss how we want to, whether we want just an open call, whether we want to solicit, if you have people in mind, how we want to work
Well,
that
if we're gonna
part.
have 3 from parks and 1 from planning, that gives 4. Go 5 from the public, and that way you get that there's a
You mean 9 or 5? What are you talking about?
5 from the public, so you have 9 total.
Why do we want 9?
Because voted for voting.
But you're gonna have people who don't know. I'll take that back. I won't say anything.
I was just thinking for voting purposes, like if
Why
You
do we have
know.
to vote? Recommendations, right?
yeah, but I mean you're gonna have to you're gonna have to kind of get your opinion across.
All right, 5 or 7? You want 9?
All right, whatever you want. I mean, we're gonna have one input from the. I thought give the public one more vote than the board members. This was so we can either go with one other person, or 3 other people, or 5 other people.
What do you think, Niles?
3, 3, and 1.
I'd say 3.
It,
If you go, 3, 3, and 1 would work too, but.
Okay, I'm good.
I mean,
So you want-
I don't care if it's
so-
7. I just off the top of my head I was thinking 9, but 7's fine number to me.
But are we gonna get someone who wants a trail everywhere, and, we're gonna say, well, we can't put it there?
Yeah, but that's the
Idea.
part of the body to say, hey, we can't put it there. Like I said, we're looking at this holistically, and, maybe we will get somebody that wants to do that, but,
What do you think, Preston?
On the trails,
Yeah.
9 people, it's fine with me, I don't care.
7, 9, whatever.
Gotta have odd numbers.
Niles, what do you think?
yeah, I think the preference would be for an odd number. So if you want to make it 7 or 9, I mean, either we can accommodate, but the preference would be odd. That way, just if there's any issue that needs
That's
to be
why
resolved,
Yeah.
there can
I was thinking
be a jury for
9,
it.
public has
All right,
5.
well,
the
7 or
board
9, if we
members
get
have
9, if we
4.
get 5 more, great.
Yeah.
We only get 3, that's
Well,
fine.
Yeah.
You know what'd be nice, that we keep revising this year after year. I
Yeah.
mean, we need to, out of this one, we need to have something set
That's
done.
That's the reason why we wanted, just like we're coming up with stop sign policies, just like we're coming up with
Yes, just,
speed hump policies, we want to come up with a trail policy.
Jeff, it's sad. We've been here a long time.
It's been 20
and
years
every-
since we last really did this, so it makes sense
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, that's why I want planning involved.
Guidelines, This is gonna happen, this, and then,
Yeah.
That's why I want planning involved, so that we say, hey, none of this makes sense anymore. Let's revisit this. Let's look where we can build a trail. Let's look what makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Then get that put into the review or redo the master plan or amend it, And then that way it's set. And we don't have to, it's
20 years from
It's
now.
our, it's, but if you think about it, we've been kicking the can. So if we fix it, we're not kicking the can. We're fixing the problem.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And come up with the areas like you guys were talking about where we don't have potential trails now.
Yeah, they got trails on there that goes through,
Yeah.
Dave McKenzie's property. That's never gonna happen. And through, property that owned by the Jamesons. That's never gonna happen. Why is it even on there? We're never gonna be able to annex that property. I mean, the town is not gonna buy that. We need to fix that. You know what I mean? Like, if we fix it, then we don't have to have.
Why we're putting it together.
Yeah,
Sounds
man.
good. Okay, so we're open to potentially seven or nine.
Okay,
Depending
so
on-
why don't we do this and say that we'll solicit we'll put it as at least 3 members of the public?
Up to 5.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then that way, if we get more, you can add more.
I don't think more than 5 though. Then it's
Right,
just
that's,
gonna-
yeah.
Are we going to have tryouts for them? Do we get to pick?
So I think that's, that's the way we can sort of figure out how we want to pick the members of the public. But I think the idea was that this was sort of going to be part of your body, or a sort of a non-official group as part of your body, or advisory
We
group.
just need people that are gonna put the whole of the community first over their preferred preference. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we
Right.
need.
This is, go into it with an open,
Yeah.
I guess what you're saying, an open,
No agenda here. Just-
exactly.
We'll just blaze the trail.
All right, Niles, is that good? Do you need anything else then on that?
No, I think that's fine. I'll develop something based on this for the public. I'll talk to planning, and then we'll go from there. So
Okay.
then we can plan that for the next meeting. All right?
Next issue, discussion of skate park security. Last
Yeah.
board asked.
You were
for
gonna
more
report back
research.
to us now.
Yeah, you said you had talked with people down in Rockville, I believe.
Correct. And they are actually going to give me a demo of how their camera system works. I'm just waiting on the exact timing on that. We're also going to have, next month, there's going to be a regional skate park meeting. Actually, the manager at Gaithersburg asked for sort of everybody to collaborate. So we're going to look at these issues just to see where they're at.
perfect.
So that's sort of the update. I just more wanted to give you an update on, as I gather more information, what's going on. In Rockville, they talked about things like they do have staff at their skate park. They do have, fences and things like that. So their situation was a little bit different. But I think looking at their actual technology side of things might give us a sense of what's doable and what's feasible in terms of cameras and things like that.
Yeah, but it would just be nice to know, like, because I know we had the questions about the security cameras. Do we post them, on a website so that they're constantly streaming and people can watch? Or do we
Right.
save the thing, how long do you save the data, or, that kind of stuff?
Right. And so that's the stuff that I'm hoping to
So
get
that-
from the demo with them.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah, that's great.
that hasn't been scheduled yet. But both of those things are to be scheduled, hopefully in the next month or so. But this is more an item to give you an update on what I've learned and how I'm trying to tackle this, so.
Could this be put into the budget, potentially?
So, potentially, we'll have to weigh everything, but once we learn more and know more, then we can plan out for that.
The skate
Would that
park,
make
well,
sense?
can we
Or
add
we
it to
can
the
do a
skate
time.
park expansion? Just
So-
security measures, or, because the skate park
Yeah.
expansion is already in the budget, yeah?
Yes.
So, but again, going back to your own comment earlier, the skate park expansion is funded by one of those state projects,
Right.
where it's for a specific task.
Oh, it's
So-
funded.
Well,
Yeah,
partially.
Well,
Okay.
the current phase of it is the best way that I would say.
I got you.
funded.
I got you.
It's
I'm
funded
tracking.
through
I'm
it.
tracking. Okay.
And that's for concrete, not wires.
Roger that.
Cameras.
Roger that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Niles.
So we can look at
Yeah.
that as well.
You got it under control,
you.
it sounds like. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, next on new business, stop sign policy.
Yes.
I guess you guys had talked last month about coming up with something similar to what we've done with the speed humps, or speed bumps.
Correct. And so what I did, just to give you guys a sense of where we're coming from, is I looked at our code, and our code requires that things like the signage and such have to conform to the manual on uniform traffic control devices for streets and highways. So what I did, and I provided for you, is first what the section is on stop signs and how they approach placement. Because that was really the question that you guys were asking about. And so as you can see, starting really on point C in that first section down to G are really the things to consider when looking at the placement of a stop sign. So one is the number and angle of approaches, so how straight basically it is. Because obviously you don't want a stop sign on a curve for obvious reasons. Approach speed, so how fast people are going to the stop sign and so forth. Sight distances available on each approach. And then reported crash experience and the presence of a grade crossing near the intersection. So is there a raised side crosswalk, that kind of thing. Now, that's from the current manual, which was adopted last December by the Department of Transportation. The state law is still based on the 2011 edition. And in the 2011 edition, they included specific information on the traffic in a given area. So, as an example, the combined vehicle, bicycle, and pedestrian volume entering the intersection from all approaches averages more than 2,000 units per day. So that would require us to do a little bit more data gathering than we currently do, because we currently just look at traffic and not looking at bicycle pedestrian volume. And then the ability to see conflicting traffic on approaches, so how well you see it sort of going both ways. And then lastly is the data on crash and accident data. So crash records indicate that 5 or more crashes that involve the failure to yield the right-of-way intersection under normal right-of-way rules have been reported within a 3-year period, or that 3 or more such crashes have been reported within a 2-year period. So the reason why I want to present it this way, not formally in the policy yet, is I wanted to see what conditions under which you want to take. Do you want to look at the state law and model it off that? Do you want to look at just we have to adhere to the manual. So that first section is already what we have to adhere to, but are there specific conditions that are from the state law do you want to add or not? And that was sort of the way that I thought this discussion would go.
I actually kind of like the quantifying it,
Yeah.
you know?
For 20 years, people come to us and said, we want a stop sign here. And we're like, okay,
Yeah.
you get a stop sign, but
And you say, we quantify, say, hey, listen, we got to make sure there's 2,000 units a day going through there.
Yeah.
And if we get the traffic data, we can almost extrapolate out the, pedestrian and bicycle data.
yeah.
And then the crash data, I think a lot of times we're in the past, we've made decisions just based on, hey, this person's, or people are flying through this, or the teenagers or whatever, and we acquiesce and, oh yeah, let's put a stop sign there. But there's been never really ever been a vehicle accident or a pedestrian, or accident involving a pedestrian. So I like the idea of quantifying it some way.
I think with respect to just this item, for example, that Hughes and Fisher, Hughes and
Tom Fox.
Tom Fox is like, should be the
Model, if you will.
yeah, the model or baseline.
Standard or
Standard baseline, right, for trying to find out, because I don't think we'll come up with 2,000 vehicle problems. I've been there 20 years, and we'll be lucky if we have 10. So, I guess my longer point maybe is, we need to make sure that we give ourselves enough flexibility to fall within our rules, while at the same time being cognizant of what.
Well, we're in a situation where we really need it.
Right, yeah.
Good
Yeah.
point, yeah.
Yeah. That's why I like the
We may have
quantification
to
of
flex
it.
that number a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, or all, some of these maybe,
Yeah. Well, at least we'll have guidelines.
But yes, that's right. That's true.
So what's the next step? Do we write this up, or the
So
commission?
yeah, so if the consensus of the board is to go with sort of the state law, and I'll write it up as a policy like we did last time, where there's steps for notification and approval and all of that stuff, like we did for the speed bump, so that the process and the requirements are there together. And then I'll present it next time. But I just wanted to provide you with all of the research that I'd done so that we could make the next decision.
I think that makes sense.
That sounds good.
I'm in favor of adding the quantification. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah.
Right, we just may have to change, two, instead of two.
Now that we have guidelines,
Yeah.
200.
could someone come up to us and say, we want to take a stop sign out?
So that is one thing that the manual actually talks about.
Yeah.
If there's no more than 2,000 cars coming through there, you don't need to stop.
You might not need it.
Yeah.
Good point.
Go ahead, Niles.
Sorry. So the manual actually talks about, which is, it suggests potentially that the best practice is to take out unnecessary stop signs
Oof.
and things like that. But I think, for the purposes of our discussion or how we want to treat things, maybe if people ask to, that might be something to evaluate at that time rather than proactively.
Yeah,
So we would-
I think we operate under the assumption that all previous stop signs are grandfathered.
That would be my recommendation.
But someone could petition it and say, take the stop sign out, and then we'd have to have guidelines for that. I agree with you, Pat. I don't want to.
No, I know, I see the dilemma.
Yeah.
But I think we just going forward from this date, here are the guidelines for installing new, that's the way we cover ourselves. Everything else is grandfathered, and then we don't have. And
Well, but there's something written that you can take them out. So we follow state law.
I'm saying that's a
Yeah.
guideline that's not in the manual itself. It's a
Okay, gotcha.
suggestion that the
It's a best
state
practice.
talks
So it's there,
about.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Best practice would be keep existing stop signs.
Yeah, it's a paragraph explanation in the manual, whatever we do it, and it's guidance. You don't have to follow it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then I'm gonna tell you, we'll deal with a lot less removal of stop signs than adding of stop signs.
Yes.
So I'm okay crossing. I feel like this fixes the problem. You know what I mean?
Okay, thanks, Niles.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Next section, recommendation on fish pool park names.
Yes, so this is the last bit of sort of naming for property next door, Willard Project, Fish Pool property. So there's basically, the applicant has requested that there's going to be a park on the John Pool side of the property, and they would like that to be designated as Willard Commons. You had previously, the Parks Board had previously asked about having a park at the property named for William Taylor. There's also going to be an open recreation area on this side of the property, meaning closer to Town Hall. And so the thought that I came up with, and see what you guys say, is to suggest designating those two parks that way, so that it fulfills what the applicant is requesting and allows for a park to be named after Mr. Taylor, as the board had previously suggested that it was its interest.
How big is that area over by John Pool? I mean, not John, the,
Yeah.
yeah. the
Let
house.
me
Yeah, the John Pool.
let me
house.
see if I can.
I don't even
pull
think
that.
it's an acre.
I'm just thinking, is it a commons or is it a? Is it?
So it's gonna be-
I was
it's
actually
gonna
thinking, I
be-
came up with other names. I was like Willard's Green or Willard's, something.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Willard's.
So it is
Green,
gonna be-
quote unquote not green area, but just it is a
Oh no, I know.
little open
yeah.
area. But
Yeah,
I'm thinking instead of two places named commons,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
one would be
Wayland
Willard's-
Commons and
Willard's
Willard
Green.
Common?
Yeah. would
Might
be-
Yeah.
confuse Pat, huh?
Yeah.
That was just,
So-
definitely
that was a
confusing.
thought I came up with. I was trying to think of other names instead of commons, and green popped
Okay.
up on my computer.
But as long as they have the will it in there, right?
Yeah, that was really their preference. So
Yeah,
what
if I
we could
remember the
do-
design, it's basically a green, maybe not even an acre, where it's the
Yeah.
houses fronted.
Yeah.
That was the area
Yeah.
where we were going to have like the special
walkway.
ground, so that people overflow
That's
parking for the Poolesville Day. Yes.
Yeah.
So
That
it
is
could be more
exactly-
of like
that
a-
is
a
exactly-
green- quote unquote green.
I like
area.
Yeah, I
Yep.
like the
Willard's
green idea
Green.
too. Willard Green. I like that
What
idea.
what I think you guys could do, yeah,
Make a motion.
Or just a suggestion, but yeah.
Is everybody in favor of William Taylor Park? For the, it's gonna have an open space with a tot lot over here on this side.
Yeah, I think we talked about
Right,
that.
yeah, that's right. Right, yeah, and we even moved it down so that it was within eyesight of Wayland Commons.
Yeah.
I remember when we were looking about locating it.
Yeah, because we were thinking if kids are up here, if we're up here for some event, the kids can go play on the, yeah.
Any
Yeah.
recommendation for that?
Niles, do you know, with respect to Willard, has anything changed from the last time we met to talk about them? You know, I just don't want
In what way?
to, making sure they're following our rules and stuff, and maybe this idea of different names, so.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm
so
being too
what,
cautious, but, you know.
yeah, so previously you had agreed to two names, from that they had submitted two names that they wanted, members of the Willard family. And that has gone through and been approved by the commissioners. The rest of the names street names that they are going to use are going to come from the already approved list.
Okay.
So once we get to that point of finalizing the street names, those will be incorporated with ones that this body had already approved and had gone through the process. So that's what they are going to do for the rest of the street names.
Do we have a timeline on the I know they were negotiating impact fees. Is there a timeline?
So I can't say definitively, let's put it that way. But they are planning on, at the next planning commission meeting, next week, to present the public improvement agreement. So that is one of the things that they will get to. And then there's a couple other steps that they have to get to before record plat, which is the last, sort of step before
they break ground?
they can, yeah. And so that's sort of where they are at the moment.
It's
How
fairly
long all
imminent,
those,
with the next 12 months probably, somewhere?
potentially, I'd say, the 12 to 18 months is probably, just being realistic, is probably a more accurate range, but who knows? I don't want to predict a process that is still ongoing and doesn't entirely involve the town.
Yep, no, we understand it's an estimate.
So with our, with our thought on the Willard Green, do we need to go back
Yeah.
to the Willards and ask them, hey, is this
So-
sound good to you, or do we just go ahead and make if the rest of the board here thinks that's okay,
Yeah.
name-wise?
So what I think
we
we could do is write up a recommendation based on, write up your recommendation, which is to say, your preferences for Willard Green, and then, if that's the will, and then we can present that to them and make the reasoning that there's already one commons, let's make this one green to better differentiate it. And then, we can submit
any
that as
alternative
your
that they-
recommendation,
yeah,
and we can get feedback from them.
Right, yeah, they, like Pat said, they may have something else that they,
An alternative,
Yes.
yeah.
Alternative, yeah.
I mean,
that was just something that popped into my head. I was thinking too many commons,
Willard
and,
Square.
Yeah,
yeah.
could be
Could be
Willard.
Willard Square,
Yeah.
could be, yeah.
yeah.
I like Willard Green. I think it is fitting. But I mean, if they got something better, I'm
Right.
open to it.
Okay, I just wanted to, so that.
So we need a recommendation to the commissioners?
Or,
Yes, you would make a recommendation to the commissioners. The reason why I'm recommending that you do that as your recommendation is so that if they agree to it, then we can go to the next step.
Then the
which is-
commissioners can just approve, yeah.
Right, exactly. In
so
that,
if
in that
the
way.
Willards come back and say they'd rather, whatever, Willard something else, then it comes back to us and we.
Then it comes back to you. That's how I would imagine it would go. So that's
So
my
who
thought.
wants,
first
so
name
who wants?
anyway.
who wants
I make
to-
a recommendation, or I make a motion that we make a recommendation to the commissioners that we submit the names of the Willard Green rather than Willard Commons for the open space closest to the John Pool House, and submit the name for William Taylor for the park on closest to the town hall.
Anybody got a second?
I'll second, yep, sorry.
All right, Terry got
I should, or leave it as green, and then if they come back, yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. So, any more discussion?
And then Niles, if you want to explain the
I will-
reasoning behind the comments, yeah, okay.
Yes, I will write up something that clarifies the will of the body, and then we'll go from there.
Roger that.
Sounds good. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Anybody else got any new business before we jump to Preston?
Did it not
Pollinator
come
patch.
through? Oh,
Yeah.
What's that?
I had one more thing. I thought I had added it in, but I guess it didn't.
Oh,
It's
it's
the
on
printed
the
one.
it's on the,
It's on the back
but it's just
page.
not on the.
Yeah.
Page 8.
Yeah.
just not on the.
Pollinator patch.
Yeah. So this was at last month's meeting. The board asked for clarification on the process for designating areas as pollinator patches. First, the town would notify the homeowners adjacent to the proposed pollinator patch. Then the residents could provide their input to the Parks Board, who could then recommend to the town manager and the assistant town manager whether to designate the area as a pollinator patch. And the final design would be an administrative decision by the town manager. So that's the process. That was what you had asked for previously. And so Wade and I had this discussion, so this is how we want to proceed. So if you want to proceed with the Stearns Court pollinator patch, we could send out letters and have it on next month's agenda and so forth.
Can, before we, maybe,
Yeah.
bring this up with the board here, just like everything else we're trying to do here, should we identify the areas that the town could potentially designate as pollinator patches and then go through that list
Yeah.
versus just saying, hey, this area?
That gets back, because you last year, I remember, said.
You know what I'm saying?
You recommended
Miles?
that. You recommended that we have a discussion on where we should have pollinator
Have
patches.
pollinator patches, because we have,
But this was more specific because you
This is
don't want
specific
to
to Stearns, but.
mow it.
It was specific to Stearns because it
Right,
was a
yeah.
mower issue, yeah.
But I like that
Right.
part to get it.
But if we have a list,
Yeah.
then we could just start ticking it off the list.
So
and
much sense, yeah.
would that be a pain in the neck to come up with?
no, not at all. And we've already moved forward with several properties that we didn't do pollinator patch, but we,
The natural
natural.
Yeah.
Which really falls under the same type of
Yes.
thing on there, except one, we allow Mother Nature to do it, where if we do a pollinator patch, we're manipulating the environment to, what we want to grow there, on there. And I could go through and designate, I could try to have that before the next meeting, go through the town and.
Just so we can see the list and see which one makes sense to do first.
And some of them are, like, Pat or Tim just said it, that, some of them are areas where you don't like, it's hard to mow and it'd be a good idea.
Dangerous, yeah.
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 Yep.
Yeah, and we brought up Stearns Court in
Get a
particular
list.
because that
Right.
ditch is,
Yeah, I walked over there.
it's insane.
And I should probably.
Which side of the
get a
road are you
list
talking about?
It's on the right-hand side.
Areas that
Looking at-
we've done already.
Looking at your house on the right?
Yeah.
The other way, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying, because we already have 3 pollinator patches. I think we have 5 natural areas now that we have, allowed to happen. I should probably get a list that what we've moved forward with, and then other ones that we would like to move forward. And it's
Actually,
nice
it
if we
exists.
have a list when our Eagle Scouts come through, or what's the Girl Scouts that have, it's called the.
Oh, life patch or something?
Arrow,
Golden Award, Cookie Award?
it's
No.
gold, I think it's golden something, I think it's gold, I think gold award. I think it's just the gold award.
Right, but anyway, so when these senior kids, boys and girls come up saying, hey, I need a project, we can already have some designated areas, say, look at this and what can you guys do?
Yeah.
If we just have one, he's finishing up this Saturday, he improved several of our ponds also, so,
With cattails or
what's that?
with cat, like, with,
No, actually, after middle school, he sunk Christmas trees to improve the fish habitat.
oh, cool.
He also put receptacles for old fishing line to recycle it, so people, instead of leaving it on the ground, they'll put it in the tube. What happens, people be walking around, they'll find it, and they'll put it in the tubes, and it'll be emptied on a regular basis on that. He also added wood duck boxes at the beaver pond. So he's also the same one that put the pollinator patch. Because it's an Eagle Scout project and a.
Conservation.
Oh, his,
Yeah.
global
There's
project.
only 37 kids have ever got to that award. So he's trying to be the 38th in the United States again.
That's cool.
So we do, and having a list, it would help with future projects.
Yeah, I think the list too could be like, okay, we have X number of resources to do this, then we can kind of prioritize it and just start knocking them out.
Yeah, I was thinking too, if you, like you said, you'd do the list of ones that have already been done. That might be cool for the town to put out on Facebook or
Yes.
something, and just as publicity.
Agree.
And we haven't heard one complaint about that, have we?
No, not at all. And we've got a lot of good input on it. And really, see, we never really had a directive to do that. And I'm just saying, really, at Stephen, at Collier Circle, I about 7 years ago, I implemented the stream, that little stream that went through. We used to mow to the edge. I started to do that, and then I saw a program over in England how they have done this to farms and other areas, and then
Oh, it's going to help with
once
erosion
again,
and
we just
everything.
started. It does a couple things that, since we are a community that is leaning, we are greener. And I don't want to go to the extreme of green either. Get that nice balance. That's how normally things work out well. If you can get a nice balance. So they always talk about reducing your carbon footprint. Well, I don't have to mow. So all of a sudden I'm not using my diesel fuel and everything. But then the side note, we have better water control. Our ponds, our streams are healthier. So we are promoting. And we are known now in the county as a progressive neighborhood. Like Wade and them guys, they're very progressive with the water system. Keeping it on the forefront. And I think by us doing this in our park systems really puts us in the forefront of working with the environment, working with the communities, and we haven't had any kickback
I think it looks better.
on it.
Like over by the Chestnut Orchard, I love that it's not mowed. I think
Yep. And now, what's going to be interesting, when people don't realize, right now, we have the grassy look to it. And then all of a sudden, 7, 8 years from now,
You can have
we're gonna
wildflowers and-
younger trees, we'll have some more thickets. People might not like that as much as the grass, but that's the progression. And then, they've been doing studies on songbirds. They need these certain size trees, and not so much a pollinator. This is where they can live as in nesting and survival. So having that, we have our yellow grass areas, our pollinator, but we need that mid-range, because big trees don't promote small birds in the cover. So we're starting to create a nice barrier, so we'll have the full,
range.
thing. We'll have food, we have cover, and then, and then, like I said, a couple of years from now, people might I don't like that. So, but right now, I have not had any pushback on the directions that, we've taken some of.
I think the ways I think would
And then the same way we treat the ponds too. We used to mow all the way down to the ponds on a consistent basis. So we don't do that anymore. Some of the ponds we only mow once a year. And that promotes our waterfowl, our frogs, our snakes, give them a barrier, especially in the springtime, so they can have their nests, have some cover from the predators, and produce things. And we were never directed to do that, but it's just something Wade and I talked about, and he's really kind of let me move in that direction on it. But the rest of the town is kind of caught into it, and they like to see it. And I hear a lot of good things. Now, there is some ponds we still mow to the edge, and that's to some of our younger fishermen, some of our older fishermen, so they do have access to the ponds directly. So we kind of get a balance. Once again, I try to get that balance.
Yep,
So
yep.
you go extreme, then all of a sudden people get left out. So once again, I think we have a nice balance how things are moving forward with our ponds. And you can really go to some of our ponds, and like I had the cranes fly over, the whooping cranes fly over. I was at the middle school to see. I always goof off before the meeting, and I'm sitting there catching crappie. Next thing you know, man, 4 cranes just flew over. It was really cool. And so, our town is becoming very friendly for wildlife. And of course, the fox, people love the foxes. Foxes are a creature of that cover, because there's mice and other voles and stuff like that. I know I'm
Okay,
right.
so Niles,
Yes.
for a lot of what Preston just said there, Gail was taking notes, so some of it, or she was typing away. But anyway, I think from what Preston was saying, a lot of what he was saying, the reasons why, we can type up or come into a,
Yep.
clarification process, or clarify the process of why we do this and where.
Yep.
So I
And
think
then just identify
that'll- that'll work
identify
out,
the
and then
areas
just
that we
like
need
the
to.
Stop sign, just like the speed humps, we can,
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
have
We
a couple,
can-
have
we
some
can-
bullets kind of thing, and that would work out well. Thank you,
Definitely, we
Preston, for-
can put that together. That's not a problem.
And then you guys will work, I guess, like you were saying, you work on a list
And like I
of
said,
ones that
for
are
the
done,
next
and then
meeting, he's
ones
got to remind me, because I'll forget, trust me, but then I'll get around.
Niles will do it, he'll keep after.
But Niles is very good about keeping me up to breast what I need to do. But, like I said, I'll get an active list for us. And then, and not a wish list, but potential, areas that we can, improve.
Yeah, and I think it'd be nice, even for us in the spring to publicize, or, hey, here's where we got these pollinator
This is
patches.
what we're doing, this
Go
is
check
why
them
we're
out.
doing it. And actually, we could incorporate some photos with it too, to say, this is, look what's, we have done.
I think we got that. I mean, the one over there by Campbell's great. I think Campbell Park is actually a nice park now. It really is.
A lot of people.
Years ago, it was a volleyball court.
Yeah, or
Yes, hey,
blank piece of concrete.
Played
Really.
volleyball over there years ago. All right, so we good? Anything else for new business? Anybody? All right, Preston, we're coming back to you.
okay. So, well, we made it through our first snowstorm in 3 years.
2 snowstorms.
Huh?
2.
Two back to back. Crew performed well. I had the younger guys. They made it through well. Out of both events, we only had one complaint about sidewalks, basically. And it was they got it one storm and then they missed a certain area, the second storm, and it was just a minimal. I mean, it wasn't in the world, but in general, our equipment went well. We've been upgrading. We just purchased another truck and put a electric salt spreader on the back of that. Reverse. I once again reduced my carbon footprint. Hey, I'm about all this stuff now. But we love the electric ones. Less maintenance. They finally have. I love electric stuff as long as it works. I don't want to be forced. I don't want to buy stuff just because it's electric. I still need to make sure it works. My goal is to keep this town. So this is our third salt spreader now. So and moving forward, every time I purchase a new truck, we'd always upgrade the salt equipment with it. And so we just did it again, literally last Friday. We did that. Talking about Campbell Park, we did remove the fence that was falling down. Because we put that fence in. Remember, we kind of turned it into a little soccer thing for a year or two. And then, of course, that fence had a lifespan, and if it's done, we contacted the people, and they were like, fine, take it down. 'Cause we weren't going to maintain it. There was no reason for it. So that's a nice park. It's a nice park, and it'll be all green along there eventually, so that'd be a nice barrier through that. We're also in the process of, Helmos is getting a new bathroom. They actually have the footprint now. They have the plumbing at the ground, so that's moving along nicely. And we also, it's been on the back burner, we also have money for the new ballards, which we just started to, during your travels, it really looks good. We changed the design. Instead of being a very pointed, we made more of a pencil top to it, so it's more friendly, basically. And we just started to install those this week. We removed the old ones, and then we cut them at the shop, and now we're starting to place them in. So Helmholtz Park, what's that?
Yeah, I saw the truck pulling in this morning with that
Yep.
all in the back.
Yep, exactly. So you figure Helmholtz Park, we've upgraded the basketball nets, the backboards and everything. We have a new bathroom. We have the ballards going in. It has a nice trail system in there. So we're moving in the right direction on that.
We updated this softball field too.
Oh, yeah, we converted that to the softball. I forgot about that last year.
Oh, that's right.
So, and that kind of reflects how, what's funny, we're talking to pickleball and tennis. There are cycles in this town. And for years, it was a 90-foot thing, but, all of a sudden, the girls softball has really come on. So, once again, we moved, we went with the flow, and we went through it. Pickleball right now is the big flow. In 10 years from now, it could be something else. And once again, we have to be flexible how how we do things on there. But that park really is coming along nicely. I think Stevens, we're scheduled to get this resurfacing on the court sooner than later, if I'm not mistaken, which would be nice. I can't wait to see.
I think he said
Elgin.
28, but that may come sooner.
That's what I'm saying. So as long as we have it on the books, all of a sudden the money's come open. But we got to have plans, which we do have plans.
Yeah.
And then Elgin Park is to get a designated actually pickleball. And we haven't touched on it. If we do run into any issues with the lights at Stevens because of the residents, Elgin Park, it's far enough away from the homes. I think we would catch actually less.
Yeah, because there are lights there now
Yeah.
in the parking lot.
Yeah, right there already. So anyways, we'll have to keep that in mind if we do catch it.
And the way we position that, though, we'd have to position a certain way to where it doesn't shine back towards.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, well, right. But I'm just saying, depends how you put that. You could have them, like this, or we'd have to. If we went in the direction with lights, we could really, before it's built, we could actually get everything turned and set.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it'd be minimal impact on the home.
Those parking lot lights are pretty bright all night long. I mean, they're.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is something, once again, as a, we are a parks board and we should have some vision out and, and this is coming. And so, anyway, but anyway, so we're really into our spring program of, early spring. We're also going to redo the ballards at Stevens Park. So our goal in the next 2 weeks to have all the new ballards in. The only park it depends if I have enough money, I might even go do bottom or top line. There's a few ballards in there. I'll see, and I'm pretty sure I can do it, but I don't want to say I can do it. It
Yeah.
depends how much, because wood is not cheap anymore.
No.
At all. Because actually, we just purchased, I want to say 96 by 6 by 10s, pressure treated, and they were $40 a pop. So, anyway, so depending on the money, but the two goals are Stevens and Helmo's. We also finished, our Parks Board, we also finished a structure for the water department, temporary structure for a PFAB filtration system. They tasked that with us. That was kind of throw a little not a curveball, but it wasn't on my full-time schedule. We got that completed. We got it heated. It really worked well through this cold weather on that. And so anyways, that's one thing about my department. They say parks and streets, but we handle anything that's thrown at us. Wade, and that's why I like my job. I'm a phone call away from doing so, and my staff is talented enough that we can normally do that. And something that Niles and I had dealing with Wayland is we had a meeting with a company for the informational sign. That one's been down and out, and hadn't really worked from the beginning. So this springtime, this summer, I think we were going to rewire the whole park, but I think we're going to coordinate it with moving that sign, because that sign's going to go away anyway, because that's going to be a turn lane. So we're going to bring it over into the park. We're going to upgrade it. We saw some nice stuff today, didn't we, Niles?
Yes, we did.
Oh, these guys come and they had a truck that it lifted up at the back with had the screen in it. It was so cool. I'm like, this is my type of, generators in it. And then they put the Poolesville logo on it from the high school. And you walk back and you see different pixels on it. And it was really a nice thing. And I'm like, this will look nice out front on there. And you could control the brightness of it in the evening. I mean, really looking at upgrading that sign. And once again, as we know, if we communicate with our citizens, life goes so much better. And that's a quick communication right there. If people see it through the town and everything. So we saw that, once again, improving our parks, again, moving in that direction. On that personnel-wise, Wade's knocking the budget out. I'll know at the end of March, what direction we're heading with personnel and everything. So, and once again, you guys are best up. I'm out, but you guys are out in town too. So if you guys see something, just let us know. We try to address it. Tim's very good. He does his walking around. He's pretty good. Yeah. Hey, I got a light pole down in my yard. I'm not lying. My man had a light pole down the other day. Tree took the light pole down. But anyways, don't be afraid to contact me, which none of you guys. You guys always contact me. But citizens are still some of our best eyes in town. And I think that's what helps with our response time too, in general. You know, we do pride ourselves doing a pretty good job getting things up. Yours was a Sunday call, I think, wasn't it? You know, pole down and everything, and we got to it, you know, relatively quick. You know, made it safe for everybody. So, hey, yes.
Quick question. So when you mentioned the Campbell Park fence, it reminded me of the Halmos. So at one point, the person who was way up at that far end, I remember several years ago, the town had to replace it because, quote unquote, the town put it in way back when. But we haven't had anybody else come and
No, and
give us,
and
you know,
it-
hard time about
that's
that or whatever, have they?
That's a bad topic with me. But
I remember that. I remember that discussion when we had in here with that.
that's
just-
when sometimes people fold. You know.
You know what?
To it, it was really it's their, that whole line is their fences.
As soon as you replaced that fence, they moved.
Yes. Yeah, oh, they
They
did
moved.
it.
They knew what
did
they
it
were
for a
doing.
reason.
Yeah, well, I mean, because the town initially, I guess, had put it in,
Right.
but now I've seen people have replaced sections themselves, but we
the
haven't had
fence
any other,
bolted.
we haven't had anybody else come and complain about it.
Yeah.
Selling feature, new
Because the
fence.
policy is, it's their fence. They can take it down. They don't have to have one in their backyard. And that was just a bad situation.
And you and Niles put the chamber maps up for Tom Kettler?
Tom Kettler came through last Thursday. Not
11 of them, right? 10 or 11?
and put them out throughout the community and the surrounding communities, showcasing our town. And they're really very nice. And I think there was 11 of them put out.
11, yeah.
Now you
He's got one
remind
more
me.
to go.
What's that?
He's putting up one more somewhere out of town.
Well, actually, the brewery, we've been trying to get one out at the brewery. I think that's where that's going.
That's it, yeah.
Put
They've
that
been
one in.
closed, yeah.
So, and actually, what's nice about Tom, you know, he's now a resident again, and he is a promoter of Poolesville. And I tell you what, I want to give a shout out to Bernie Mims. His crew came out here. He said, Preston, he goes, I want to take town hall, no cost.
To do what?
Take care of the shrubbery and stuff. All we do is mulch. His crew came out today and pruned everything up. His professional guys do, and they do it every fall time. I mean, winter time now for us.
That's nice.
That's what makes our town so great, is our citizens. We are very fortunate. We have very active citizens. The commercial people are very active. That's one thing I've always been able to. If I had to approach a commercial property or an owner, they normally help us out because they do. This is their town too.
Yeah.
You figure a lot of the commercial people, they live here. You know, they own here, they live here, their business is here, so they really do support us nice, and we're very lucky to have that also. So, anyways, that's where we're at, and springtime's coming, guys. We'll be busy.
Thanks, Preston.
Yep.
Niles, do you want to give us a briefing on what happened at the commissioners' meeting?
Certainly. So the commissioners' meeting had two general topics that were discussed. One was various nonprofit organizations submitted their budget requests for grants for the FY25 budget for a variety of groups, including the Chamber of Commerce, Riverworks. There's an Eagle Scout who's doing the project out at the Buddhist Temple on River Road. And so those were primarily what they did. And then they also spent some time discussing potential ordinance on cannabis dispensaries under state law. There are certain parameters that we have to put into the zoning ordinance, and so the code. There's a draft ordinance that was going to go before the Planning Commission and such to review those requirements under state law. So those were sort of the two main things. We did discuss the informational sign And we're also almost done with the painting of the water tower. That will be within the next week or two. So that will be all done. So that as well. But those were primarily the topics that were discussed at the meeting.
Are those regulations published yet, or have they?
Not yet. So once there'll probably be because this meeting was first to introduce the legislation, but I think we'll probably end up sharing them for the planning commission next meeting, and then whenever
If I'm being dense
commissioner.
here. Is the legislation like state legislation that we're adopting, or?
So there are requirements under state law that we have to add, basically. So like a use, for example. So under state law, you have to add a use. There's setback requirements for a dispensary that you have to adhere to. So,
Yeah.
for example,
Can't be near a school or.
yeah, exactly, those type of things. And so we have to sort of incorporate those
Near the
into,
town. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I'm.
Yeah.
So it's basically discussing how we update town ordinances based on the state law. I'm tracking.
exactly.
Yeah, it wasn't something introduced by. Gotcha.
Yep. Yep. And those were the main things. So, any questions?
Anybody else got anything else they want to bring up?
Do we got to do the same thing with casinos?
Actually, I wonder if that is already in the use chart. Hang on, give me a second.
Not that we'll ever have. I'm just
Yeah,
playing devil's advocate here. So somebody can make a motion to adjourn.
I'm waiting.
yeah, you can go ahead and adjourn. I can
Anybody-
end the
anybody got a
stream.
motion for me?
Remember.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Tim, Doug, it is 8:30. We are done. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah,
Are we,
we have to adopt all these things.